By Sunday afternoon, it's going to be off the mouth of the river here with winds of 120. Now, this is...
The effects from Hurricane Katrina are just starting to be felt here in New Orleans. The wind starting to pick up considerably.
New Orleans' levee system could not protect the city, and 682 were killed.
I need someone out here, ma'am. I'm going to die in this attic. The water is steady rising in the attic, ma'am. And I'm going to drown in the attic.
At 9:45 a.m. on August 29, 2005, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers got the first frantic call. The 17th Street Canal had breached. Before noon, more than 50 levees and flood walls had failed, submerging 80% of New Orleans and drowning whole wards under 15 feet of water. Thousands climbed onto overstuffed Greyhounds or caught FEMA flights, chasing any city whose lights were still on.
Did you tell Mr. Hagan in that phone call that New Orleans was flooding?
I think I told him that we were realizing our worst nightmare, that everything that we had planned about, worried about, that FEMA frankly had worried about for 10 years was coming true.
And by mid-October, Atlanta was paying for 17,223 evacuees holed up in rooms near Hartsfield-Jackson. State planners would later tally more than 100,000 Katrina evacuees settled in Georgia during those first months. Most unpacked, found work, and tried to stitch new lives together, enrolling their kids in school and melting into the busy MARTA rush hour. But a few brought the street politics of New Orleans straight to the A. In Atlanta, they saw a gold mine. They started their spree right after Katrina evacuees settled in. And before Christmas, the International Robbing Crew, a loose alliance of New Orleans stick-up kids and a few Atlanta locals, left its calling card. On November 28, 2005, West End shop owner Mamadou Barry was found hogtied with a bag over his head, suffocated in his bathtub. A West African immigrant who sold mini motorcycles from a West End storefront. Mamadou was bound, tied, and later suffocated after members of the Robin crew ransacked his apartment. Daquan Stevens, Jeremy Dunn, and another member of the crew planned the hit, after Stevens' father had done business with Barry. 5 months later, Iraq War vet Ryan Harmon had words with Stevens and fellow Robin crew member Marciel Easterling outside Club Magic. When later interviewed by Atlanta PD about the incident, Stevens stated,
"Me and Marciel, one day we sitting in front of Magic City. They tried to charge him to park in front of the club, so I laughed. No harm in laughing. Harmon was like, what the f*** so funny? I even took time out to explain myself to the man. Hey look bro, it was nothing like that. I turned back to look at Marciel, and then turned back around. They done rolled the back window down, then pointed a pistol at me. Marciel got a gun on him, I grabbed him, tell him no. I pull off. A couple days later, me and Marciel see him again and shot through the back of his truck. After that, we went and put the gun up at the house, and that was it. Then we went to the club."
In August of 2006, Stevens and another member robbed a man by the name of Gary Lester, who was an associate of other Robin crew members. They kidnapped Lester as he left Tight Works, then went to his East Point house where they forced Lester's girlfriend to strip while they ransacked the home. Like Mamadou, Lester had a plastic bag over his head in an attempt to suffocate him. Lester was able to break free, but as he ran off, Stevens tried to shoot him. Luckily for Lester, Stevens' pistol jammed, calling it an act of God that spared Lester twice in one evening. The Robin crew was making noise in the streets, and Atlanta crews were taking notice. Atlanta police commanders watching the homicide board fill up called it the New Orleans effect. Shootings citywide jumped roughly 20%, and aggravated robberies spiked even faster. The robberies continued into 2007, with another high-profile incident occurring in May, as Randy Griffin was followed home by 2 cars driven by members of the robbing crew. One car lay in wait behind the privacy fence. A second rolled in on Griffin's bumper. As the masked gunman rushed the front walk, firing shots at Griffin, Griffin drew a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson returning fire and clipping Carlos Drennan in the hip and grazing another attacker's shoulder. In the crossfire, his girlfriend Lacey Magee caught a round through the hand. Griffin later gave a statement to Atlanta PD that led to the arrest of Carlos Drennan, landing him in the Fulton County Jail. From jail, Drennan burned up the phones. Recordings later played in court captured him telling another Robin crew member to lay that on out for me. Go on ahead and fix it. In reference to Griffin, in retaliation for Drennan's arrest, it's alleged that a group of Robin crew members, including Maurice Kev Hargrove, Edward Morris, Ashton Mitchell, and getaway driver Daquan Stevens hatched a plan. They drove to a popular Atlanta night spot, Club 112 on Peachtree. There, the crew waited for Griffin to exit the club. Once Griffin stepped out the club, two shooters emerged from a Dodge Charger, shooting and deleting Griffin. News of Griffin's death rippled through the jail. Over a recorded line, Drennan spoke on the hit, saying,
"So that's something we ain't got to worry about no more, huh?
That's messed up.
That's life, ain't it?"
The killing of Griffin showcased the violence talked about spread to more than just other violent crews. Friends of Griffin stated he was a hustler, not a gangsta. His only prior arrest was a 2003 weed misdemeanor. He paid the fine and kept it moving, his sister told Creative Loafing reporters. He carried because Southwest Atlanta was hot that summer as home invasions spiked 25%. Not even the mall was safe from the Robin crew. On a sweltering Saturday night, March 31st, 2007, 4 masked gunmen attempted to rob Glitz Jewelers at Greenbrier Mall. Shots were fired hitting a security guard and 2 shoppers before the crew took off in a Ford Expedition. Summer cooked on, and the Southwest Atlanta's rumor mill linked every new home invasion or carjacking to the New Orleans crew. Detectives later traced a dozen break-ins to the same playbook: kick the door, herd the folks inside at gunpoint, snatch jewelry and long guns, then vanish onto 285 before patrols could box them in. One of those doors belonged to Matt Mitchell, who ran with a crew off Campbellton Road. Robin crew hitters burst into Mitchell's Glen Echo Drive home, pistol-whipped his girlfriend and her young son, and emptied the closets. Court filings say Mitchell was furious that the robbing crew invaded his home and terrorized his family. 5 nights later, he and 5 friends would answer with 80 rounds outside the all-in-one social club. At the moment Mitchell's door splintered, the streets were primed for the bloody summer headline that would soon define 2007. On September 20th, 2007, the night air was thick, cigarillo smoke leaking from the all-in-one social club, and whispers about the summer's killings all ricocheted off the cinder block walls. Inside, Christopher Nooney Copeland, a Mechanicsville native and 30 Deep affiliate, hung out. Unaware 6 blocks away, a caravan was already rolling towards the club, loaded with bullets with his name on them. A car containing Matthew Mitchell, Prentice Brent McNeil, and 3 unidentified shooters went to seek revenge for the home invasion nights earlier. Looking for running partners of the robbers, Copeland was that running partner. Loaded with a Ruger Mini 14, an AK, and at least 2 pistols, Mitchell and crew pulled towards the club. At 2:03 a.m., Copeland pushed through the club's door. Waiting on him were the Campbellton Road crew. Muzzles flashed. Then the deeper knock of rifle rounds. In less than 50 seconds, more than 70 rounds were fired at Copeland. 40 rounds found meat and bone. Homicide detectives called the hit Baghdad numbers on an Atlanta street. But the hunt wasn't over. Mechanicsville, September 25th, just past 11 p.m. The 24-hour convenience store at McDaniel and Glen was a lonely glow box in the dark. A car sat idling beside the pumps. Inside sat Dontavius Big Tay Walker and Gregory Big Greg Hunt. Their partner Willie Boy Wilson ducked inside for smokes, unaware a green Chevy Venture minivan was stalking the lot without headlights 2 blocks back. McNeil had helped gun down Hunt's brother Christopher Nooney Copeland nights before at the all-in-one social club. And now, Greg Hunt was next. With the Chevy Venture loaded with a AK-style rifle, a Ruger Mini 14, a 40 cal Glock, and a 9mm, McNeil, along with Marco Whiteboy Moses and Maurice Mo Williams, crept on Hunt and crew. The Chevy pulled into the Quick Mart and blocked Walker and Hunt's exit. The minivan's side door slammed back. McNeil jumped first with the Mini 14, Williams behind him with the Glock. The rifles barked and glass burst like flashbulbs. Walker jammed the Intrepid into reverse, but a round chewed through his forearm. The sedan fishtailed and crashed, 20-plus shots in under 30 seconds. When the guns clicked empty, the shooters hopped back into the Chevy and vanished southbound. Neither Wilson or Hunt were hit, while Walker was taken to Grady Hospital. Crime scene techs counted at least 4 different weapons from the shell pile. A ballistic cocktail that matched casings at the Copeland homicide 6 days earlier. 2 days later, officers arrested Prentice McNeil at his residence on Glen Echo. They obtained a search warrant for the home, and inside they found a Ruger M14, a .223 gas-powered rifle, and an AK-47, all of which ballistics later matched to the shooting at the convenience store. The ballistics also helped Atlanta police connect the condo robbery to the Copeland hit and the convenience store ambush. On November 3, 2007, a 39-count Fulton indictment names 9 international Robin crew members for 7 murders, citing Drennan's jail-recorded phone calls, Barry's torture scene, and Harmon's AK slang as the backbone of the case. Every headline from late 2005 to fall 2007 was a link on a chain, waiting to be connected. A few evacuees from Katrina planted the international Robin crew seed. The IRC's robberies bled into witness hits. Those robberies dragged Campbellton soldiers into open war. That war roped in 30 deep, and all of it stayed stitched together by a battered Ruger and an AK that kept changing hands like dollar bills. When everything was finally laid out in court, ballistics, jail tapes, phone pings, the jury could trace the blood thread without lifting a finger. Atlanta's murder spike wasn't chaos. It was cause and effect lit by one hurricane. By year's end, Atlanta logged 129 homicides, up from 110 in 2006 and 89 in 2005, with the Robin crew being linked to 7 and suspected of 30. Yet for every headline, there were 10 quiet success stories. Entrepreneurs opened restaurants, diplomas were earned, and new lives were started. Community organizers reminded anyone with a microphone that the data never showed a uniform crime surge tied to evacuees, just a few outliers grabbing the spotlight.